Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, Tasmania is now operating on daylight saving time. May we suggest that you advance your watches by 1 hour. Thank you.
Times change, obviously, and talking about changing times, as you're aware, the government's daylight saving legislation will be introduced into the House in the next few weeks. We're very anxious to find out exactly what people in Tasmania think about daylight saving, and we'd like you to write and tell us. First of all, tell us whether or not you want it, and in either case, give your reasons for your decision, and address your letters to Line Up, care of the ABC in Hobart. And that's all in Line Up tonight. Until tomorrow night, good night.
Bruce Grundy, compere of the current affairs programme Line Up on ABC Tasmanian Television. A few months ago, Line Up asked its viewers these questions.
80% of those who replied were in favour of daylight saving and 20% were against. There were some very strange reasons, in my opinion, offered for a number of the people's opinions. Leave God's time alone was one that we found frequently. If God had wanted us to get up in the dark, he'd have given us cat's eyes to help us do it more satisfactorily. One chap didn't like kissing his girl goodnight in broad daylight. Many people on the land were against it. On the other hand, many farmers were also in favour of it. But basically those who wanted daylight saving found that it was just delightful for them to enjoy their recreational pastimes.
Mr. Scott, you're against daylight saving. Tell me why.
Very much so. Well, the main reasons are that I feel that there's too many people physically affected and even financially affected by legislation that is specifically introduced into the country on no other excuse for the purpose of more sport and more leisure.
Tasmanians found in the 2-year trial period of daylight saving that an hour's extra daylight at the end of the working day was good for sport and leisure. On the Derwent estuary, it's well after 6 o'clock before the boats need leave the water. There's plenty of daylight left to clean them down. Later, as the days lengthen, there'll be races after working hours. There's time for an extra hour's fishing from the Sorell Causeway. There's time for a drive on what used to be a quiet country road. The daylight savers claim road safety improves with the long twilight, but there are no figures to prove it yet.
Most of the people I talk to, and these are so far have been townspeople, have said it's a great idea. It gives me an extra hour of daylight.
Quite correct. That is a fact, but they are mostly 40-hour-week workers. They enjoy 2 full days of leisure at the weekend. They've got plenty of time for sport and leisure. And in view of that, I would think that the reason for more sport and more leisure, even if there's only 2 people, in my opinion, who are affected financially, wouldn't be good enough. Wouldn't be good enough excuse.
But even among farmers, polls indicate support for daylight saving.
What do you think of daylight saving?
I'm all for it.
Why?
Because I'd rather have my day's work over early so I can rest at 5 o'clock or knock off and rest.
Well, what about the farmer who says that while ever there's daylight, there can't be any rest for the farmer?
Well, turn that off for God's sake. You tracked me that one.
No, remember you mentioned before that these fellas are not organising their work. Now, the farmer will say that while ever there's daylight, he goes on working. Now, what about him?
Well, I don't consider that a farmer or any person that works longer than 8 or 10 hours is actually working.
He's just... What's he doing then?
Well, I consider that he's not organised, properly organised.
Listen, I'm going to have some dinner with you.
The winners of classes 1, 2, 3 and 4.
Well, I feel I gain an extra hour of sunshine in the afternoon, which appeals to me.
What do you do with it?
Cut grass, normally.
So it's more work?
That's right. Look, if I could chip in again, that might give us another hour's work.
Indirectly, perhaps it might be, but that's up to me.
I work from daylight till dark, no matter which way it goes.
So really, what time the clock's telling you it is isn't all that important then?
Well, not... it's just that I think we've been used to knocking off, say, at 12:30 for dinner, and that's the odd part of the day. Well, now, when the clock's on and now, you've knocked off at 11:30 for dinner. By the time you go back to work, you're in the real boiling heat of the day. What do you think, Ross?
Oh, I don't agree with you.
Don't you?
No, I like it.
Oh, good for you, then.
Because I mightn't work as hard as you. But,
I'm glad someone right.
You find it suits your system of working?
It suits me well and I like it. And I'd like to see all the states, all the eastern states, bring it in.